Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. To my regular listeners, as promised, as guaranteed, when you hit the play button to this show, you get nothing but incredible information, incredible stories, incredible people that are here to just give you a little bit of hope, give you a little bit, give you something to get you through the moment. So today I have Jenny Townsend, author of Stroke It. Yes, you guys heard me correctly, author of Stroke It. In all seriousness, I should say. Incredibly accomplished young lady, has done some great work and has a incredible story about just forgiveness, making sure your work-life balance, making sure you're integrating your work-life balance in a way that is going to achieve results. So all that being said, Jenny, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to stroking your audience and providing some great value.
Yes, and I love the way you threw that in there as well, because that brings me to the first thing I want to talk to you about is you are a former athlete, correct? And
Yes.
one of the things that I'm very passionate about as a former football player, coach, scout, all of that, I'm really wanting, young athletes to see the opportunity that they have to develop in business and develop in relationships and all the things that they're doing now, how it applies to the business world. So can you just go in a little bit about your background as an athlete, what you played, and some of the things that it may have taught you as you got into the business world?
Yeah, I mean, I loved playing sports growing up. I think sports are a great way to engage with others, find out your strengths, your weaknesses. And
Mhm.
I feel like sports also require you to depend on other people and utilize their strengths as well. It's not all about you, it really requires an entire team. And that really applies in business as well. I also grew up doing 4-H, which is a great program for leadership, teamwork as well. So yeah, I grew up playing softball, soccer. I did track and field. I did the hurdles.
Mhm.
I also did BMX bike racing for a period of time as
Oh,
well. So my parents were all about enrolling us in every activity,
right.
whether we liked it or not, because my parents wanted us to be in uncomfortable situations and also begin developing our network.
Yeah.
And so when I'm running into business meetings today, I'm running into people I played soccer, softball, or did
Yeah.
club sports with. So I already have a contact or I already have something in common with this individual that makes it really easy to get the conversation started and then potentially do business with them in the future.
Right. Now, was it all in Sarasota, Florida, or were you growing up somewhere else? Where were you playing?
All of it has been here in Sarasota, Florida. I was born and raised here. I'm actually fifth generation. I moved away for a short period of time. I attended a lot of soccer camps throughout Florida and the colleges here in the area.
Right.
But yeah, my basis has been Sarasota. We've got a number one beach called Siesta Key, so I'm staying here.
Yeah, when I first got here, I was actually in St. Petersburg, and then I moved to South Florida like 7 months in. So, I mean, Florida is why, I mean, again, as an athlete, the reason I moved to Florida was because of the athlete community and the fitness community. So you are spot on with everything you're saying. Now, did you go on and play collegiately or and stuff like that? How was it? Because I know it's with female sports, it's a different beast than it comes to football. It's not like you have to go play in college. That's actually a real decision in terms of are you going to keep playing or are you going to start following what you want to do for a career?
Yeah, no, I just played locally, like club and then high school as well. So sports were a big part of my development and part of my life. However, I had a really big interest in getting into real estate and then running my parents' company.
Oh,
So I've always loved working, and that's really what my passion has been.
right.
But I loved my time doing sports, but for the most part, I was ready to get into the workforce.
Right. All right. So great. And I love that you said that because now it's also important for you guys to who are listening, athlete or non-athlete, you got to know what it is you want to do before you go into that college process. Because if you don't, you're just throwing away money. You're just literally wasting money and time, and you do not get any of those two things back. And maybe some money here and there, but you definitely don't get time back. Right. So you knew exactly what it is you want to do. You knew how to go about doing it and things like that. Walk us through some of the process in terms of because I believe that's your first job out of college before you started running your own business. What was the transition like when it became all right, now it's time to focus on real estate and selling and things like that because sales is a force multiplier and it's important that all of you develop some sort of sales habits. So Go ahead.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I loved working. My parents had me running their companies as well, and my parents had a window cleaning company. We had a power washing company. We also had a farm as well. So when it
That
came
is a
to
lot.
going to yeah, so when it
We're
came to going to
busy.
college, my parents did want me to go to college, and
Mhm.
that's because they didn't have a college education. So it was really, really important for them, but I didn't really want to go to college. So I went to college for the first year and made the same mistake that a lot of people do make, where I didn't pay attention, I didn't go to class, and I pretty much like failed out. And then my parents were like, hey, you have two options. You're either going to complete college right now, or you're going to have to pay for it later. And
Mhm.
so that's when I opted to just get my associate's degree and then go into real estate.
Exactly.
And I did that. It was super successful because number one, I had the network that I had built, like obviously growing up, doing sports, being connected and being involved. And then I had the contacts, I had the drive, I had the ambition to make a lot of money as well. So I was super successful with real estate. The market crashed, and then I had to go back to college because I had to get a bachelor's degree because in that time period, like everybody required you to have a bachelor to apply for a job.
Hmm.
And even though I could outwork, outsell, and outdo most people, nobody would hire me, unfortunately. So I went back to school, got my bachelor's degree, and
Right.
that's where I developed the business plan for the business that I own today, which is Music Compound, which is a music school.
Mhm.
So if I wouldn't have gone back to college, I might
Right.
have not been in that position to create that business plan.
Right.
Just recently, though, I did go back to a memory I had while I was working for my dad's window cleaning company.
Right.
And I was cleaning some woman's house, and she lived in a mansion. She lived in the water. She drove a Mercedes, had a tanning bed in her garage. I mean, she
Yeah.
just was set up for
Doing it.
25.
Right.
And I was like, what do you do? And she goes, I own a cheerleading school. She goes, a child-based business. Your parent, all parents will pay. And I was like, one day I'm gonna have a child-based business, not knowing that I was gonna one day have a music school. So
Yeah.
if you are going through life and you're just like, you don't know what to do, just look for the signs, take notes, learn from people, ask questions, and then file them because you may come back to that file later and it may have a huge impact on a decision. And I'm so grateful that I started my company and I had this path to get me there. It wasn't always easy,
Right.
but I'm really happy to where I am today.
Yeah, there, oh my God, man, there's so much that I want to make sure we pull from everything that you just said because I currently teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education. And a lot like you, we are trying to incorporate that type of thinking to the kids. We're trying to incorporate and teach in a way where they realize they have options, give yourself opportunities, give yourself options. And like you just said, even though you were focused on the associate's degree, you made sure you had work experience and then she could always go back. That's the point I want to give you guys as listeners. You cannot predict the future. You, me, she, there's nobody out there that can predict the future. Give yourself opportunities to where you can always go back to do certain things and then apply it. And then again, you may run into someone that just shows you your future, just like that cheerleader lady, shows you your future. Like, wow, you mean I don't have to just sell houses to make a living and to be doing it like that? So what was the now? I believe you at this point. Did you meet your husband at this point? Because I know you had like, and this is what I want to make sure I make this point clear as well. When you do find out specifically what it is you want to do, because I experienced this myself, is I knew I wanted to be a football coach when I was a sophomore. When I tore my ACL, I knew I wanted to at least be in the sports business, right? The next question I had to myself, Jenny, is okay, who's the kind of woman that I would want to be with, be married to, knowing what it is I want to do. So you're figuring these things out. And I know that feeling. I know that feeling of figuring things out professionally. But now it's like, okay, now I got to find a life partner. So can you kind of
Yeah.
walk us through that process? Because a business minded, career oriented minded person, that is not as easy of a task for a lot of people that some people doesn't realize how difficult of a task it is when you are so career oriented to find that partner. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I traveled for most of my jobs in my 20s. Like I traveled the country. I was gone 4 or 5 days a week as well. So when I did meet my husband, I met my husband because I was on a kickball league
Oh,
and I needed a hobby because all I did wanted to do was work, work, work. So I was like, okay, I'll start playing kickball. And so we met playing kickball. And, because I was so career driven, I would never I grew up as a tomboy. So I didn't grow up like wanting to get married, ever thinking about my perfect wedding day, having children.
Okay.
Like I always just thought about what was my work life going to be and, who was going to be part of that. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I met my husband playing kickball, and it was around the same time that I was graduating with my bachelor's degree from USF. And on our first date, I had told him about my goal to open up this music school. And he's
Mhm.
like, that's super cool. So, like, do you play musical instruments? And I was like, no. And he's like, do you have an education background? I said, no. And I literally only understood the business side of it. So, we started dating, we got married, and then 3 years after we got married, I decided to start the business and started happily married and
So did
rocking and
you, were you,
rolling.
I don't mean to, but were you just working a job for the first 3 years before you started the business? Like, how were things? Well, first, how was it easy to adjust to having a job, knowing that you want to be that person that goes out and sells and stuff like that? Kind of walk us through a little bit about what life was like
Yeah.
for years.
So I always had like a corporate gig. I had a corporate gig for a period of time. So like when I graduated from college, I got a corporate gig that allowed me to travel the country for 3 years.
Okay.
And that's where I was doing my market research for the music school. But I was also like vice president of multiple companies. And then I worked for a nonprofit.
Hmm.
And then shit hit the fan with the nonprofit. So I quit and I took a year off to
Yeah.
focus on developing the music school.
Hmm.
And here's another lesson is if you think about starting your own company, develop an exit strategy, 3 to 6 months
Yep.
at your current job. So you can cut your memberships, you can cut your expenses, you can start saving your money. So you have enough money to live off for
Yeah.
6 months to a year while you're starting your business.
Right.
That's where
That's
my
a good
husband
advice.
came into play, where, he was able to support our household while I was starting my company because I didn't pay myself for the first 3 years. So, a lot goes into starting your own company. There's a lot of decisions you have to make.
Right.
And your significant other, if you do have one, has to be on board and willing to support and willing to make sacrifices just like you. Um, it didn't perfectly work out for us. And we can kind of dive into that a little bit more. But for the most part, starting a business can be really hard, but having a really great game plan.
Yeah.
But the reason I was able to be successful with my company is I had a lot of the business sense and the business skills and a lot of previous roles and responsibilities that led me to have the resume that I needed to have in order to get financing to start a music school, not having a music background, not having an education degree.
Yes, and I'm glad you made that point because as you develop, and for you regular listeners, you guys already know, this business is not a one and done thing. Business is a lifetime thing all over every single day. You got to come with a certain mentality. And the more you grow, the more important now your marriages become, the more important your relationships in general. We're not just talking romantic relationships, but obviously that's the most important one. However, who you have around you now it really starts to affect how you do your work. And you lived through a situation that let me tell you, I was beyond impressed with how you were vulnerable and transparent enough to talk about, hey, my husband wasn't faithful. However, I learned something about my business and how like the role I played in this circumstance, and you guys were able to, come up with a mutual thing. So I'll let you tell it because you obviously tell it a whole lot better than me. But I'll just say from the man's perspective, I was very appreciative in your ability to keep away from resentment and turn it into
Mhm.
something that was positive, and it's now obviously doing some great things for you. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, by the way, too. So, for any listeners out there that maybe have their own company, like when you start your company, you know that if it's going to be successful, that you're going to have to be all in, and it's got to become your life. It's got to become, you know, part of your way of being. And so with my company, I had been planning on opening it for 7+ years. So when I finally got to open the doors, it became my life, but it also became my passion and my love and my everything.
Hmm.
And during the first few years, I didn't forget I was married, but I just didn't have time to focus on my marriage. I really knew the only way for my company to be successful was to be 110% in. What I failed to do was take time for myself and remember that my husband did want to be married. And
Yeah, you
also
did
I
want
didn't,
that.
I, and I didn't pay myself. So first and foremost, if you're starting a company or if you're in the first 3 years, first and foremost, put yourself on payroll. Even if you don't think you have the money, you will find that money. You will be able to pay yourself,
Yeah.
create some really great balance, and remember to spend time with your loved ones because they really need you and they really want you.
Yes.
So in that first couple of years, yeah, just didn't care that I was married. I wasn't home. And so I had speculated that my husband was having another relationship with a coworker. And then, yes, I found out it was true. And during that time, you become very angry, you become very resentful, you question yourself, you hate your spouse, you hate the company. Like there's just so many emotions. And I was grateful that I had someone say, slow down and take some time.
Mm,
Don't rush any decisions right now. And that really spoke to me. And it was in that moment that I decided to take ownership of me, my time, my decisions, my life. And that's where a lot of really great realizations came and a lot of life lessons started to make sense.
mhm,
And I was able to begin the recovery process from discovering my husband was having an affair, which was
mhm,
super, super challenging. It was really hard.
mhm,
But it also led us to an amazing marriage because we decided to take ownership. He took ownership, I took ownership. And within that process, we learned a lot about ourselves and who we are and who we wanted to be, not only for ourselves, but for each other and for the people that we worked with, especially with me leading a company. I became a better owner and a better leader. I had a whole team of people and I was preventing them from going and taking the company and being innovative because I wanted to do everything my way and the way we always done it. And when I was not present in my business, because I had to step out during this time, they
yeah.
took my company from red to black. They took it from old school to new school. They automated, they digitalized it. I mean, it was just amazing the transformation. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't step out my business and
Yeah.
allow the team that I hired and trusted to lead the organization. So that's like another point that I want to make is that if you do have team members, trust them, allow them the opportunities to change the future of your company, allow them time to fail, allow them time to lead without barriers. There's so much growth that came during that time frame professionally for all of my team members, but also for myself as well. And if my husband didn't do what he did, I would have never been pulled off that hamster wheel
Yeah.
and my company would still be maybe struggling, or I would be having high turnover and there'd be all these other struggles. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just quite a journey.
It is, and I applaud you for your vulnerability and sharing that. I want to make sure I make the point to you listeners is this is important regardless of your age. I actually had it wasn't a situation directly that happened to me, but it was something similar. And in which I came to that realization, I was a freshman in college, and we're college football players. We were like hanging out, we found our crew, but we still were with our high school girlfriends. And I will tell you, I and several of them were all cheating. We were cheating like crazy. We were doing things that, again, my 18 freshman year college year old self would be like, yeah, okay, that side of me, I've grown and matured from that. But there was all of us eventually broke up with our high school girlfriends except for one. And the one person that stayed with his high school girlfriend was actually because he got someone else pregnant. Okay. So that was the reason because it came to the realization, hey, this is now getting serious. Is she gonna forgive me? I mean, he was actually my roommate. He'd spent whole like days. I'd have to leave the room. He's begging her for forgiveness and all that. And I came to the realization, I'm not willing to do that with my high school girlfriend. So just cut it off and cut your losses and move on. And these are just the truths about relationships. If you have to start looking at your own situation, you have to start looking at your own self and say, what exactly do I want out of my life? What do I want out of my life? And does this person fit into my life? And why would I waste time going somewhere else if this person doesn't fit? Those are the questions that you have to ask. The same exact questions. It's like, before we started recording, she asked me, do you want to talk business? Do you want to talk relationships? I was like, I don't really see much of a difference because these are going to be the same principles that come up over and over and over again. And I want to, now that you got things, sort of moving succinctly, can you just talk a little bit about what's unique about your music school? What do you provide? What sort of things, as an educator that teaches kids the arts and we integrate the arts here, what are the things that you're providing at this music school that are unique to the child experience?
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing first about
Please,
like
yes,
just the
please, go ahead.
relationship part of it,
Do
because I think when we talk about the whole forgiveness and moving forward, um, the reason that I can be back into my company fully and be able to give to all these other people is because I'm truly happy and I'm in a really great place as well. And so if you are going through some different challenges or struggles, it is possible to gain trust. It is possible to forgive your spouse or your partner or someone that hurt you, but you have to forgive yourself first. You have to
Hmm.
love yourself first, and you have to give yourself that grace and that love and that compassion so
Hmm.
that you can be really, really happy. And if you're really happy and you feel great about yourself, then you can be happy and give to others.
Hmm.
And so I think that's a really important point to make too, if anyone's going through a similar journey or something that's maybe they're dealing with in their life. Um, all of my detours have led to really amazing places
Hmm.
and a lot of great relationships and success. And so I do feel like the company is where it's at today because of this journey.
Hmm.
When we speak about the company, the music school is called Music Compound. It's located in Sarasota, Florida. I have over 500 members that come on a weekly basis. We have upside of, I think, 37, 38 team members as well. And what makes us unique is that we bring the team aspect. So because I grew up playing sports and I was in 4-H, I wanted to create a space for individuals to connect with like-minded individuals that wasn't traditional, that wasn't cookie cutter, and that wasn't what everybody else was doing. So
Right.
I wanted to create a space where we could enhance their social skills, boost their confidence, and create a love for music for them to have their entire lives,
Mm.
not just during this season of life when their parents are mandating they take music lessons.
Yes.
Our approach is very holistic. All of our teachers are empowered to cater each lesson to each student. You
Mhm.
and I are very different individuals. How we learn is very different. I like country, I like pop. You probably like different types of music. So why would I require one teacher to teach, 30 different people the same curriculum and the same type of music when that may not fit?
Right.
We're also very collaborative. So we have a lot of ensembles, we have a lot of bands, we have a lot of jam sessions.
Mm.
We have so many opportunities for people to connect and play music together. My goal is really to remove them from isolation and give them a sense of community and belonging that
Right.
they'll have for the rest of their life. And it's truly amazing. I mean, we literally are turning dreams into reality. And it doesn't matter what the age is. It could be a 5-year-old, a 50-year-old,
Mhm.
or we've got like 82-year-olds that come to Music Compound that are playing music, and it's just an amazing organization.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I want to make sure we first of all got to make the point of the power of creativity and how creativity can be something that is used to benefit you. And also, I believe it or not, last night I first watched for the first time, as big of a Bob Marley fan as I am, it was the first time I actually watched the biopic, and I realized how much just music in itself can bring people together. It brings peace
Mhm.
together. It brings everyone together to unite in certain situations. And just at the school I'm at now, Center for Creative Education, it was 3 weeks ago now, we had a band here. We had a band here, and he was doing his thing, and he was talking about how, he helps kids get scholarships. He does a lot of visits with schools. They try to go travel. I believe he said they're going to do FAMU, like the juniors program and stuff like that. So how do you guys connect? You mentioned connecting with the community. What are some of the things? Do you guys go perform at events, and how do you make yourself available for the community?
Yeah, well, we have our own concert venue on site. It's
Oh,
3,000
there you go.
square
Awesome.
feet. So not only do we provide or we have a lot of concerts on site for all of our families in the community, but we also gift our space to nonprofits so they can use it for fundraisers as well.
Oh,
On the
nice.
flip side, because I've been very much involved with our community, we get a lot of opportunities to perform at large festivals or, seasonal events. I don't know, we have anywhere between 2 and 4 gigs per month where we provide opportunities for all of our students to perform, whether it's in a band setting or whether they're just showing up to sing an original and play guitar or keys.
Okay.
So we have lots of that. We do a Rock Your Summer reading program every year, and that's where we encourage individuals to read up to 50 books. And for every 5 books you read, you get a prize.
Mm.
And those prizes could be like a kid's meal at Chick-fil-A, PDQ, there's ice cream, there's Sky Zone, there's
Right.
Defy Jump. I mean, we created this during COVID when my team was sewing masks because I had a bunch of people on salaries and I was like, we're closed. So how are we going to
And
find
I'm
a
telling you, I
place?
was well at that time. I was actually that's around the time this podcast actually first got started. I was a trainer at Nine Round, so I was in the like fitness business, and the whole fitness industry had to take a complete detour, man. So yeah, fitness and
Yeah.
education, man, we got hit hard in the
Yeah.
that year.
So we were around the table sewing masks and we're like, okay, how do we get people back into the businesses?
Mhm.
And I've always wanted to do a reading program. I was a horrible reader, like literally, I was a C student.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to create an opportunity for kids that were C students to be encouraged to start reading.
Okay.
And so that's when we created Rock Your Summer Reading. And we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. Last year we had over 5,000 books submitted through the portal.
Yes.
And so it's made a huge impact, but we're very much community driven. I feel like our community serves us by supporting us and coming and bringing their children or thinking of us. And so we love giving back. We give about 10,000, maybe $12,000 a month back to our community, whether it's cash or in kind.
Mhm.
So I think I got that community aspect
Mhm.
from my 4-H years. And that
Nice.
was all about volunteering and giving back. And that's another thing too. I believe in the power of volunteering. I've gotten a lot of job offers and I've gotten a lot of great contacts that have led me to my success and where my company is today because I was volunteering a lot of my time back in the day. So that's
Yeah.
something else I want to encourage anyone that's listening as well is to give back,
Mhm.
and you will get that back in some sort of way at some time, and probably when you least expect it.
Hey, you just say the word, man. Let me know how I can get involved with the book drives. I have several books that I would love to donate and get involved and get in front of more kids. So just say the word and the Move Swiftly world will definitely get involved in some kind of way. So I do have to ask you this because you just mentioned that you weren't a big fan of reading. Neither was I, yet I'm a five-time published author. You are an author as well. How exactly does this happen? Because again, the title of your book, it's Stroke It, and again, men sees that. We see that it's a catchy title, but I'm sure based on what you have said, the title is just a way of getting people to read it, and then it's some serious stuff as they read it and things like that. So walk us through how you were able to, first of all, write the book and then start the pod and then, start to develop in the thought leadership world as well.
Yeah, so I'm always glass half full or overflowing type of person.
Come on now.
Um,
Come on, take to the church, girl.
so when everything started happening with my husband, I got really, really sick because I was internalizing everything. And
Mhm.
so I was going to a lot of doctors to find out like what was wrong with me. And I came across an acupuncturist and she said, we've got to heal your mind and your body, your soul and your heart. And
Mhm.
once we heal that, the rest of your body is going to start to heal. And so she and a lot of other people suggested writing and journaling. And I was like, oh no, what do you mean? That's like meditation. That's never going to work. Well, meditation does work and journaling did work. I was able to release a lot of the emotions and I started writing things out. And then I started reflecting on the things I was writing and the situation with my husband and I. And that's when I was like, oh, stroke it. And
Mhm.
then that's where the name came into. Somebody else was stroking my husband. And
Yeah.
how she was stroking my husband is that she was validating him. She was present. She would listen
Right.
and all these other things. And I was like, oh, this doesn't just apply to a married couple. This applies to business and like how you stroke your employees, not literally, but making
Well,
sure
that's
they
why
feel.
I gotta pause you there on that point. It's not just
Yeah.
about sex, folks. It is not just about sex. I've said that so many times on this show. You guys are probably tired of hearing me say that. It is just one act. Stroking it is all about, and I'm using that term very, very intentionally here. It is not just about the one track mind where you go when you see it. It's so much of the mind. It's so much of the other parts of yourself that's going to require you to be in a fulfilling relationship. I can't stress that enough to you guys. All right. So go ahead. That, by the way, that happens on the show quite a bit because people hit those triggers with me. I get going. I gotta make sure I make certain points clear to the listener. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. It really is about validating and showing your appreciation and speaking it. Even as women, I don't know if you have a lot of women listeners, but there's a lot of times we as women will walk down the street and we will look another woman up and down and we're admiring her. We're admiring her walk. We're admiring her
Mhm.
outfit, her shoes, her confidence. And
Mhm.
we walk by and we don't say a single thing.
Mhm.
And that's really what I want to encourage everyone to do is to speak up, give the compliment. And I don't know why it's hard for people to do that or they feel uncomfortable, but honestly, this stroking it and verbalizing our appreciation, our love and
Mhm.
just our all on each other
Right.
really will go a long way. I have changed people's days, their moods, their like love for what they're doing by just acknowledging them. So that, the whole stroke it concept really started as like a really negative
Mhm.
thing because someone else was stroking my husband, but it's blossomed into a beautiful concept and a beautiful way of living life.
Mhm.
And so with my book, The Stroke It, it's your guide to enhancing every relationship, especially with you.
Mm.
So it starts with you, it talks about marriage, it talks about partners, but once again, it talks about employees and employers. So if you're new to the workforce, or maybe you've been in the workforce for a while, it's a great read because there's a lot of my podcast guests that talk about how to have conversations with your employer, how to, show up on time and how to be a great employee. But then on the flip side, and then of course we talk about friends and family.
Right.
And because everybody wants to assume the book is about sex, there is a chapter for your pleasure
Right.
that includes some like ways that my husband and I were able to rekindle not only our marriage, but rekindle the relationship in the bedroom. And, here we are years later, and we have more passion and connection than we ever did have, even prior to the debacle. So I'm really proud of the book. It started as a journal. My first draft, like from the editor, it was completely red. Like I saved it because I was so proud of all the red.
Mhm.
And I knew that I was going to be able to transform it into a really great book, bestseller, and I've got some amazing reviews as well. So the book is really transformative. I was having dinner with someone last night and I was like, oh, they gave the book to the neighbor. I was like, oh, does your neighbor need it? She goes, your book is not about needing it. It's a wealth of knowledge. It's a great reminder for anybody at any age, not just those struggling with their marriage.
Yes, I mean, well, you can't see it, but I'm sitting here getting goosebumps here because I love I love, and it's not just a woman man thing. I just love when people have developed in life to the point in which they can be so transparent, so authentic, so vulnerable. There's such a power that comes with being able to do that just on a Tuesday, right? Not when you're prepared for just this is your immediate state, this is your permanent state. That takes so much self-development and courage that again, I just love when I can have conversations with people that have reached that state. Everyone, it's a race to get there. Get there as fast as you possibly can. I get it's not easy, but it's so worth it when you're able to do that. You give so much more of yourself, so much more is waiting for you, as opposed to, like you just said, hiding, not giving the compliment to the young lady. Don't do that. It is a very lonely and a very, very dark place. So,
And you never
anyway,
know, and you never know where they are or that they need to hear it at that exact time as well. Like for instance, I was downtown one time and this lady, she was just immaculate. And I said, oh, you're just shiny. You're just so beautiful. And she's like, thank you. She goes, my husband was supposed to be here on this trip with me. And I found out he was with another woman and I'm here by myself. And like that just really, really sparked her energy and her love for herself again as
yeah.
well. So I always say, speak up,
Mhm.
and you just never know how your words are going to impact somebody else. And I also have some really great tools in my book too,
Yeah.
and on my podcast about, how to enhance every relationship. And there's 4 ground rules that I use. And that's number one, acknowledge your role and how you're showing up for yourself and for others as well. Accept the facts. And sometimes you have to accept the apology. And you have to accept things that you cannot change. That's another thing. Another tip I want to give everyone too is to avoid negativity,
Mhm.
avoid the triggers, avoid the places that are going to get you in trouble, avoid the conversations that are going to lead to negative emotions or that are really going to make you depressed and unhappy. And my fourth like tip for anyone is attract what you want to see and what you want in your life. So if you want to be healthier, go and hang out with people that are living a healthy lifestyle, whether they're walking, whether they're eating healthy. If you want to have more peace in your life, go to where peaceful people are hanging out, whether it's a park, whether it's they're meditating, whether they're having really positive conversations.
Right.
And, you know, 86 the people that aren't serving you because you only have one life.
Yeah.
Live your best and start today.
Yes, and I'm telling you now, I know specifically this episode is definitely being shared. Today's two so 2 days ago I went to a bar, it's Duffy's. I'm not sure if you guys have Duffy's out there in Sarasota, but there was a Duffy's and there was a bartender and she there was some guy, I guess one of the regulars came in, is like, yeah, how's it going with so and so? You could tell she's in a tough relationship. And she goes, oh my, I can't talk about it because he got drunk and he just threw beer on me. And she's stuck in that situation. And if you see that, she is gorgeous, Jenny, like fine as hell, to the point where I'm like, you should not be in that situation. And if we ended up talking, and then I said these things to her. I said, look, you have a great personality. You can move on. You can do better than that. I just left. I didn't ask for no number. I didn't ask for anything. But it's important because that made her day, just knowing that, hey, somebody, and you never know what somebody, I could only imagine someone that beautiful being in a situation where she has to deal with a guy that's drinking or cussing and throwing beer on her and, and all that kind of stuff. And that's another point too, is you never want to suffer in silence, ladies. One of the things that I did have to deal with quite a bit when I was a boxing trainer is women who were in domestic abuse situations, and just putting boxing gloves on them is like saved their entire day. That 30 minutes
Mhm.
save them and put them in a place where now they just feel protected. So again, you never know what someone's going through, especially with ladies who are kind of trained to be quiet in certain situations. Men, we get praised for when we're boastful and we have pride and we get into to confrontation. Ladies aren't praised for those kinds of things. So always be aware of those things as well. And I do want, can you just, I do want to be very respectful of your time because I know we could talk for hours on a lot of these issues. Can you just tell people what's next, how they can get in touch with you, and all that kind of stuff? So you mentioned your book and your
Oh
podcast.
yeah, so you can get my book on Amazon as well. So you'll put Stroke It, and then I would put in my name, Jenny Townsend, because with Stroke It, you never know what's going to pop up on
You never
Amazon or
know.
on your
Yeah.
internet
That's another
browser.
point. I'm telling you, I have officially cut out the porn, by the way, too. I'm done with it. Ever since like the way this stuff is like with human traffic and all the stats I've heard, I am done
Yeah.
with it. And I encourage all of you to do the same thing. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna just leave it at that. So go ahead.
Yeah, so you get my book on Amazon. If you decide that you want to go to my website and purchase the book, I'll mail you some bookmarks. I also have these little postcards that you can mail to some of your friends to encourage them and just, give them some words of affirmation. So you can get it Amazon or my website, whatever fits your style. And then I also have a podcast. It's called Stroke It, and it's your guide to enhancing your life and others. And it's really great for personal and professional development. That's on all the major players wherever you listen to your podcast as well. I've got a YouTube channel which has a lot of the videos, and the podcasts are there. So if you're more of a visual person, yeah. So I mean, I'm online. So if you Google my name, you will find some good stuff on there. I got a clean record, so don't expect to find anything bad.
Exactly. Yes, yes. And is it just look you up and find whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff? Just
Yeah, so it's all my full name, Jenny Allday Townsend, and the Allday is my maiden name. And growing up, I always got teased about the name, and I was like, I can't wait to get married and then change it. But so much of my professional life, because I got married in my 30s, everything has been branded as my maiden name. So I decided to keep that as well. So for all you women out there, you don't have to change your name, and I just changed my passport. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you if you are interested in learning how to, kickstart your own business. I love talking shop. I love providing some really, really great tools. Or if you know someone that's struggling within their marriage, I love talking about relationships. I actually have some great downloads. What it's titled To End or Mend a Relationship.
Mhm.
My husband and I were able to mend a relationship. It took a lot of time. It took 2 to 3 years to get it to where it is today. But it is possible given the work, and it seems really easy to throw in the towel. But why throw in the towel if you have something really great? And the best is always so many great things come after disaster or bad things, So even with my company, like basically it was like falling apart, and then like 6 months later, it turned into this amazing gem. So don't give up too early on those individuals that are in your life, because they could surprise you and they can turn into a beautiful relationship.
All right. Well, all that will be included in the show notes as well. So, Jenny, the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. And you are younger Jenny, and like the day, take us back to the day you found out your husband was cheating and everything was just falling apart in business. Pretend that that version of Jenny has come into the Zoom room. Give her some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
Yeah, so you can do this. Like, just stay true to yourself
Mhm.
and do what's best for you, and don't listen to anybody else. So many people have not been in your shoes, so their opinion doesn't matter and it's not valid. Listen to those that have been in your shoes and your inner voices, because those are the most important ones.
Man, that is so unbelievably, unbelievably important, man. And again, like I said, we could talk for hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. And everyone out there listening, make sure you've taken something from this. Like I said at the beginning, we are here simply to get you through the moment and whatever you're going through, whether it's relational, professional, personal, whatever it is, just here to help you out and get through that moment. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.